Welcome back to Tech Gumbo on Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. I'm Chris Courtney, your host, and you're with, we got Haggai Davis and James Moak with us, and leave me alone. So, all right, segment 3, round 3.
Round 3. All right, Chris. So we've been doing Tech Gumbo now for almost a year, so you're new on the board. Tell our listeners a little bit about Chris. What's your background, and how'd you get to be sitting here with us on Tech Gumbo?
Well, he drew the short straw, obviously, but other than that.
I'm originally from Baton Rouge, graduated from Baton Rouge. I was graduated from Terra High School, spent some time in the military, went to college at Southeastern, kind of fell in love with radio while I was at Southeastern, and happened to fall into the job here at Guarantee Broadcasting. I was looking through the paper, looking for a job, not realizing in college how hard it was to actually get into the business and make a living in the business. Got lucked into it. Looked in the paper. There was an ad for a producer for the LSU game day on Eagle 98.1, our sister station, and pretty much the rest is history. Been doing radio for Guarantee Media for about a little over 10 years, 10, 11 years.
And so, in addition to working on game day, what are some of the other shows that you have been producer on, board op on? I
produce a lot of shows. I produce the morning show on Talk 107.3 FM, AM Baton Rouge. I have produced the Clarence Buggs Show for quite a while. I'm not doing that one anymore right now. I produce Louisiana Business and Industry Show on the weekends, Bite and Booze with Jada Cody on the weekends. Lots of stuff LSU on Eagle 98.1. I also do a little bit on ESPN as well.
So when you're now here working with us on this one, what's been some of your technology backgrounds? I know you said earlier, you're not much of a techie, but I know you have somewhat of a technology, history at least.
I have a bit of a history. I'm probably your basic user when it comes to computers. I'm definitely the guy turning on, and as long as it works, I'm good. And I'm probably the guy that would have the 2-year-old modem. As long as it works, I'm good. I don't really, to be honest, as I've gotten older and moving along, I don't really use a computer a lot. The most I'm using it for is word processing or something like that. Other than that, if I'm using a computer, it's working with audio, editing audio, or putting together slideshows or something, or making a video at the house or things like that. I tend to use an Apple computer a lot more. I am definitely an Apple person. My very first computer that was ever bought for me, I was in 6th grade, was an Apple IIc. I have to say they're the easiest things I've ever worked with.
So, but you're bilingual, is what you're telling us.
Yeah, I can play around on a PC. Much like everything else, the PCs they're cheaper and everybody has one. Your business, college, whatever. That's about it. I play a lot. It's horrible to say, but I play a lot of video games. I PS3. I had Nintendos. I did all of that. I grew up in a family where my father was a computer person, a very big computer person, very much an electronics person. He served in the Korean War with the Air Force, cut his teeth on radar electronics, and ended up doing some other work inside his field. And as he matured through the ages, from electronics to the punch card to computers to home computers to your laptop, he kind of just stayed in it and moved from the technical and the mechanical side of it, so to say, to the programming side of it. He hasn't done much with computers in probably 10 years, but very, very proficient with it. And, he's done a lot. We've always had a computer in our house ever since I can remember. One of the first ones I remember in his house was in 286 AT. So we've had computers around. I've used computers. Just my sense was I would rather play a video game on them than do work. And that was his attitude, was always, they're not for games. It's a piece of work. It's for work. It's a tool for work. So
Yeah, and mine's a similar story in that, my dad was in data processing in the banking industry here in Baton Rouge for many, many years, and then savings and loans. And, my mother was involved in data processing as well with, started out with what was American Bank and then AmBank and Hancock
Right.
and now Whitney. And so, I kind of grew up just kind of watching, what they were doing, not really fully understanding it because, in those days we didn't have computers in the home yet,
Right.
but I understood it. And so I never really thought, too, that I would actually kind of follow in his footsteps, if you will, in the technology industry. And so now, having been in it a little over 20 years, it's interesting to make some parallels between some of the things we were talking about during the break, those big computer rooms with the big tape drives and all that stuff. When I was going to LSU in the early 80s, I had a nighttime job at Louisiana Companies downtown. And it was changing those tapes. It was doing all those big printouts that nobody else wanted to do during the day. I was a college kid at night that did all that work. And now, we're doing the same thing with, on our phones and on these laptops and tablets and things. So the whole evolution of technology is just amazing.
I find that interesting. That's one of the things I really enjoy doing is having conversations with my father about that because, growing up, after he did a lot of really neat things, and he kind of grew up through it and was able to really see the changes of where it came. Whereas, the most changes I saw is the personal computer of the '80s to the laptop to your phone, and that's really what it was. Everything just got smaller. Whereas he did a lot with the electronic side and the actual hands-on side, and made his way into data processing. He moved from Arizona here with Honeywell, doing data processing with Honeywell, and then ended up getting a job with Cajun Electric when they were still open, data processing with Cajun Electric, and then from there ended up self-employed for a little bit, doing stuff with the state for their data processing, and then down at the street, the SPR for their, and he's done it forever, and I just kind of find it humorous. He constantly, every now and then, he'd have to go to a new class, learn a new language, either whatever was the language of the time. And one of the funnier stories was, I remember when he went to one for, I guess it was COBOL and Pascal, and when he walked in, he was the oldest guy in the room. In late 40s, early 50s, oldest guy in the room, and there's nothing but these young 22, 23-year-old kids learning this language, and the professor liked to see everybody and who was smarter or not, and by the end of the class, he was sitting at the front, and all these kids were like, how did you do this? And he's like, he enjoyed doing it. It never grabbed me, unfortunately. It was always boring, to be really honest with you. My attention span was, he'd try to teach me something on it and show me why something did what, or, my extent of computer language was basic. After basic, I just kind of, that was it. But I had a little bit of a grasp of basic. It was kind of neat, but it just wasn't as big as I guess I expected it. Not to mention, I grew up, one of the big movies at the time when the computers were coming out was War Games.
Mm-hmm. I'd piss on a spark plug if I thought it helped.
So,
that's one of my favorite lines from movies.
I like every other kid in school, you can hack into your school computer and change your grades? And then start talking to my dad on how to do it. He's like, you don't. Just let it go.
Because our schools here in Baton Rouge didn't have computers.
Right, he's like, that's not going to happen. And he said, first off, I put you on the internet right now, you wouldn't even know what you're looking at. And, people today don't get that either. You turn the internet on, you go to Google, or you go to Yahoo, or you go to Microsoft, all these home pages that direct you out. Back in the day, you sign up on, what was it, CompuServe, if I remember, and it was nothing but a prompt.
No, it was America Online.
Right.
It wasn't even AOL
Yeah,
yet.
but even before that,
you had to use a Netscape browser.
He did it one time because he had to get on for work, and it was really for work. And I think it was CompuServe was the system, the system they were using. But basically, when you pulled
Prodigy,
it up, there was nothing. It was nothing but just a prompt saying, "All right, where do you want to go?" Basically,
right.
And Prodigy.
That was the bulletin board systems
right.
and all that stuff. Way
Prodigy
early on.
was a little different. I remember using that in high school, and it kind of gave you a little bit of a, you can go here and you can look around and do a little bit of that, and then you had AOL come around, and you could see it change, but I guess in its infancy, it didn't entertain me as much as turning on and playing a video game.
And I'm the odd one out of you two because I grew up in an offshore oil family. All we did was bang on the iron in my family. We had no electronics. And my friends still from high school still don't know how I got into IT and telecom.
It just evolves.
Yeah,
it does.
So, well, that's a little bit about me. Now y'all know.
All
We're
right.
gonna.
Welcome to the Tech Gumbo family.
I appreciate it. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to it. We're gonna learn. Hopefully, I'll learn some good stuff, and maybe input a little video game knowledge in here a little bit, and let some younger guys get in on it.
That'd be great.
So, we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna come back, close it out for y'all. You're listening to Tech Gumbo on Talk 107.3 FM WB.